In 2007, a new kind of YouTube video is uploaded. In the midst of fandom mania with record-breaking book sales, fan sites, plenty of fan fiction, and a successful billion-dollar film franchise, a landmark fan work would emerge, becoming an early viral video that would enrapture one of the biggest fandoms in the world. What is that mysterious ticking noise? Welcome to Rewind Time. This episode is about Neil Cicierega, the creator of Potter Puppet Pals.
Yeah, it's rewind time.
Welcome to Rewind Time. Lucy, how are you today?
I am, honestly, look, a little clammy, a little sweaty.
Yeah, it's meant to be autumn, but Sydney really, last days of summer vibes, we're sweating.
Yeah, it's a little sweaty here for our video listeners. Max does have an ice pack located.
I have this pillow. It was going to be my little secret, But yeah, I do. I'm running an ice pack under the laptop today.
No secrets between us and the listeners.
Fair enough. It's like water cooling. I'm like a computer, an extension of the laptop.
My little Android boy.
Yeah. Today, from the intro, as you picked up, Neil Cicierega. Lucy, were you a fan of Neil Cicierega?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, big fan. And I think even in some ways I didn't even really realize, but revisiting Neil Cicierega and revisiting his work, it was a very enjoyable episode for me. How about you? Were you familiar with Neil?
Well, I had seen Mysterious Ticking Noise,
What,
I think.
Spoilers?
Sorry for those not aware. Yeah, probably the most famous Potter Puppet Pals video, certainly the most viewed. So I did know about that series of videos, but I did not know anything about Neil Cicierega. I didn't. If you were like, who created Potter Puppet Pals, I was not going to be like Neil Cicierega.
Right.
I would have virtually no idea, and I've never seen anything else on the channel or heard of it at all.
But in your really limited YouTube viewing, you saw Potter Puppet Pals. Do you remember seeing it around the time?
I don't want to preempt our discussion of Potter Puppet Pals, but I remember some of my more annoying classmates, like big Potter heads, crossover with kids that liked music, would sing the song from Potter Puppet Pals.
I mean, without those disparaging elements, I would say that's pretty accurate. Also, I probably was a member of that group of people that you found annoying. But it's fine. You didn't know me yet.
Yeah, let's touch on that in detail in the Potter Puppet Pals segment. So Neil had a YouTube account in the mid-2000s, but he was active online for some years prior to that. He was posting on Newgrounds, which was a sort of Flash-centric animation games portal. Do you have much experience with Newgrounds?
Not a bunch, but I am familiar with / did know of Newgrounds around the time. Yeah, so because there's a few other YouTubers which we will eventually cover who also have their start on Newgrounds. It's a pretty common origin story for a lot of YouTubers around this time period. Because Neil was also in, the group of YouTubers we've been covering who were like 2005, 2006 starting point, which is really, really, really early YouTube.
Yeah, well, if you're a creative person online and YouTube doesn't exist, there isn't many portals that will let you just post or host content for free. So
yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense for people of his age, and he's a similar age to the other creators that we've looked at, that they were active online and Newgrounds was the place to be. So Neil was posting his original videos, his animations and music on Newgrounds, and it's tough to quantify it just using Wikipedia, but they are of such influence that he has a Wikipedia article about Animutation, which is the style of animation that he pioneered. And to give you a brief example, it's sort of like a hybrid between, there's a lot of Japanese music as a basis for the tracks, and then that's like juxtaposed with a lot of pop art, primarily I would say American pop cultural imagery. There's some stuff from Canada as well.
Yeah.
But like the main sort of early breakthrough here is something called the Pokey Rap, another Pokemon video.
There's something about it. It's like either Pokemon or Mario has to be included it's like the early YouTube viral success formula.
Like the cultural dominance of Japan in the 90s. Like all these boys like love this Japanese stuff.
They are nerds, but I mean, we'll get into it, but I feel like Neil, you know, not that it's the Nerd Olympics, okay? I'm not saying that our other creators we've talked about so far have stolen nerd valor. You know, I think Smosh and Ryan Heger, like I think they truly were into nerdy things, but Neil, and we'll talk a bit about his like background and the vibe of his videos, but I'm like, I think would you agree that he's kind of like on the next level of like nerdiness? He
has the Smosh Anthony hair, like the very long, like unlayered, like fringe straight hair of the time, but he also accessorizes with a fedora.
It's like one or two videos. It's not always the fedora.
Yeah, but he owned one. There was one in the house.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
But yeah, no, he does give homeschooled energy.
Which he is homeschooled, by the way. I think it's important to distinguish. It's kind of like the, what is it? Are you jobless? What is it? That meme? The jobless or unemployed energy? I actually believe that's like a Mike's Mike origin meme. Where it's like to be jobless is not the same as to be unemployed. Where it's like to have a homeschooled energy is not the same as necessarily being homeschooled. Like it's a Venn diagram. You know what I mean? You can have a homeschooled energy but not be homeschooled.
Sadly, I'm just very jobbed up. So no, I don't really. No, I understand in principle what you mean. I actually think that the homeschooling, if you look at his ability at that age, I think it's kind of a rare endorsement of the positives of homeschooling.
No, I think so many, and actually I think we'll see a lot of creators are homeschooled, or you see it quite frequently, and I think it does speak to like, I guess having that spare time, or I guess maybe like that social element. Like if you're not in a class of like 30 people, then yeah, maybe you would be more inclined to go online and seek out community at like 15.
I'm also thinking your cringe, your ability to self-cringe doesn't develop because you're under-socialized, so you're brave enough to post these things online. But
do you think those early works are cringe though? Because I don't know if they are. The Pokey Rap.
No. Sorry, I don't mean that his videos are cringe like iJustine's. I mean the inherent cringe factor of putting yourself out publicly doing any creative work.
Right. Yeah. You don't have that like.
Yeah, you need a level of
I don't
self-belief.
want people at school to find out about this because it's like there's no people at school to find out about your secret YouTube account. Yeah, no, that's fair. But I would say, yeah, those early videos on Newgrounds, and we, you know, typically, obviously the show, we do YouTube history, but I think it's important because those did get uploaded to YouTube, but they got taken down, I think, for copyright because he samples music.
Some of them, primarily for copyright claims. The most well-known one is the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny, which I think quite a few people would be familiar with because Neil does original music to the majority of his videos, and this one is, I would say, even like at this very early stage, and we've covered quite a bit of original music in the series so far, you can tell that he has musical ability that our other creators do not.
It's not that they don't have it, but I would say his has progressed, or he has like a natural talent. He lists, so we did find in a little bit of our background research on this episode, an article where he was interviewed, I think in 2004 or 2005, where they were just like, this child online is making these extremely viral animations and he makes his own music. And they asked him about his like his music influence, and he said Oingo Boingo, which is like the Danny Elfman band. Cancelled. But I think you can see that so clearly in his influence, because I don't want to say it's just like wacky, but it is kind of it's wacky.
I want to say the hooks were catchy and the lyrics are written in a way that they're quite of interest. Like the video, it details, it's like a Ready Player One crossover of pop cultural, characters from different quote unquote universes, which is something that is very popular nowadays with, the MCU and things. But, in 2005, it was a bit more novel.
It's just like Chuck Norris.
Yeah, like Optimus Prime fights Gandalf, that type of thing. Yeah. Like, it's nothing groundbreaking, but if you're someone on YouTube, that was like in 2005, you're like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like,
I think you're right in that it's if I was online in 2005 and I was a nerd or just generally into pop culture, I would think it's very cool. He clearly has quite a grasp on pop culture for like seeming, I think he's like 16 or something when he makes this, and I'm like, you're a nerd, like not in a derogatory way, but I'm like, like so many franchises and properties. How could you be across all of these at age 16? I'm not sure, but I just would like personal editorial note that I was not a big fan of this one. I understand its importance, but this is like not quite. I feel like this was made maybe more to please the masses. Maybe
agree.
that's
it's
a bit like internet humor TM. But then I think, and we'll talk about it, but like I think Neil's personal humor is like way more obscure, which we'll get into. But yeah.
We also, once Neil comes to YouTube, we have the continuation of the style of like Japanese inspired visual absurdist little comedy pieces, but we also branch out a bit, and you can tell that digital home camera technology is improved because he's starting to film home videos much like other creators of the time, and so we start getting like comedy videos. They're not sketch, there's not really much character work at this point. It's more, I'll give you an example, the finger trap, which is like about 10 seconds long, and he does faces on his fingers, and it's like a character piece, like you'd have a puppet show. And so you can see how he is reacting to the improvements in technology and doing some broader application of his like his comedic style on this YouTube channel, but it's still very much like in the vein of what we were seeing on Newgrounds.
RIP Flash at this point. Have you ever made a Flash animation?
I have at school, yes.
Yeah, they're very time consuming. And it's like I think it's just interesting that, because I think, he makes these really intensive Flash animations that are like minutes long, would take you hours and hours of work. Like obviously they're quite simple, I guess, but still that doesn't mean that they're not time consuming. But then his comedy isn't just limited to Flash animations. Like this is the first we're seeing of him doing like little like videos. I mean, as you said. And
these videos, I think I'll speak for both of us in that we found them both because they were all very concise and focused in what like the premise and joke is. We found them a lot more watchable, and we watched a lot more in succession than we did with some of our other creators' work in that time.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, especially the early ones, are like a minute or less, like 30 seconds or less, which again, a lot of early YouTube videos are really short. But these, I don't know, the laugh rate on this was pretty high, at least for me. I was laughing. The finger trap one, again, I feel like we spent more time explaining it than the length of the actual video. But like, I had a good giggle at that video. It's 10 seconds long. It's very funny. The umbrella video where it's like the tiny paper umbrellas. And I was sort of like, I'm not really sure where, he's kind of going through, he's like arranging them, and I'm like not really sure where the gag is going. But then the payoff is sending the umbrellas to like the place with like the tiny island or something. And I'm like, that's very...
like the nation of tiny umbrellas.
Yeah, something like that. It's very, very cute. Very
and even
funny.
if like the joke isn't something we find particularly funny, he has such a grasp on the soundtrack or like the visual landscape of the videos compared to other stuff we've watched, where even if we're not finding it like laugh per minute type of things, like it's still always quite interesting.
I also would say that a lot of his humor is very, I don't want to say it's like SNL, because like I feel like that's not quite the right comparison. I guess sketch comedy more broadly is the better comparison, but it's like the ideas don't age, I don't feel like, in any particular way.
No.
Like
I think
they're just funny over time. Like tiny umbrellas are always going to kind of exist and always be funny. I mean, check back on in a decade.
There
maybe.
is like an absurd element to the stuff he creates where it almost sits outside of the like contemporary references of the time.
It's not all directly connected to pop culture or a celebrity or news at the time or anything like that. It's all just exists in the void.
Yeah. Like I'll use an example of Neil Kart 64, which is you click on it and you're expecting like a Mario Kart parody, and it kind of is that, but what it is you see POV Neil lying on the floor, and he sort of scoots around their house, and your perspective is him looking down over his feet, and it's clearly shot at some sort of family event or Christmas because there's a bunch of family around, and he sort of zooms around all of them. Like he's probably he's a late teenager at this point. So he's like a large gangly boy zooming around, and then he gets up and everyone's like, okay. And then the credits is like every single one of his family members, even though they did nothing in the video. And even that, I think tickled us. And compared to some of the more direct parodies, especially of like gaming IP we've seen so far, there's no way you could show this to someone, and as long as they have a understanding of what it is to drive
Mario
a car.
Kart. It's a racing game.
Yeah, exactly. And the credits joke, they don't even need to understand that to think that's funny.
It's really funny.
I also thought Neil, he did some dancing content.
Gosh, you really liked this.
And I think it was the best dancing content we have seen so far. He did it, so he shot it and then played it back in fast motion. So he's moving really quickly, but also it's in time to the music.
Yeah.
So it's quite difficult because you'd have to presumably dance to...
It's like a TikTok.
Yeah. No, but he didn't have CapCut.
Yeah, no. But I think it's funny because it's like now something that people do all the time, which is like, recording something in recording something slow to then play it at normal speed or vice versa. He would be playing the music at half speed and dancing to it all in half speed with the vision that it's going to be full speed. I also want to say that he really gives to me, he looks like a Persona character because he's wearing the fedora and he's doing these very like stylized moves. This I think is the most homeschooled any of the videos get. There is probably an alternate reality where he only uploads videos like this and not any of the other comedy stuff. And that would be weird, but in the context of all his other stuff, I'm like, he's a savant. But if I just saw these videos alone, I'd be like, okay, like swag, I guess. But...
He would have remained, I think, a very niche creator.
Yes.
Maybe like respected amongst like, later YouTubers for originality. But yeah, it wouldn't have become...
No.
He wouldn't have a Wikipedia article potentially. But besides the point, there is one thing I want to touch before we get to the big series. And it's the Neil Saves Christmas video, which at the time, the credits come up and it says it was made in collaboration with Ryan Murphy and Kevin James. And we were like, okay, that's a gag because they're both obviously celebrity creators.
I mean, we were immediately on Wikipedia being like, because this was 2007, I think this video was uploaded. So we were immediately like, is Ryan Murphy famous in 2007? Like we all know notorious industry menace. Love heart. Ryan
Murphy is the creator of Glee. He's the showrunner of, is it The Politician? That's what he currently does.
Other stuff, I would say. He's doing that Kim K sitcom thing, the drama series where she's
What's
a lawyer.
It called?
Don't know.
Oh.
Don't know if it has been announced. Clearly very highly anticipated.
Shout out to my fans of Kim Kardashian and The Whale. No, but Kevin James is, the King of Queens, Paul Blart, Mall Cop, famously. But no, so I don't know if they're using stage names.
No, I don't think they are.
Okay, so his two friends are just coincidentally known as, their names are Ryan Murphy and Kevin James. And they star in this video where Neil confronts Superman about the absence of Santa, and then, but like the Santa Claus, Neil, by putting on the hat, becomes Santa.
But it's like a body horror sequence. It's so disturbing.
It's like a Tim Burton transformation, or actually it's kind of Cronenberg-y.
It's scary.
It seems like very painful.
Yeah, it's awful. Not like it's awful, but like it's awful. I don't like body horror. Okay, Substance was a tough watch for me personally.
Yeah, and this begins a collaboration with Ryan and Kevin that is still ongoing to this day. We did not watch a lot of their stuff because it is primarily short films, and it does feel like it is not sort of a mainline Neil creation. Yeah. Although they are hosted on his channel, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, of the three, I was about to make a Destiny's Child allegory, but I don't know if that's necessarily fair. But it's like, if I'm in Destiny's Child and we release a new track, I'm going to get Beyonce to put it on her channel. Is
yes.
that? I mean, probably
well,
not.
no, I understand that.
Yeah.
Rewind Time is not on Lucy Livin, so we're not all like that. But yeah, they still are posting on Neil's channel. But Neil will continue to do his own work on the channel, but also Potter Puppet Pals. So I'm going to give us each a max of 1 minute to give our Harry Potter bona fides, because it is obviously a somewhat contentious topic, and I don't want us to get bogged down in discussion of Harry Potter or the author. So, Lucy, are you a fan of Harry Potter?
I have read all the books. I was a big fan of Harry Potter as a child. I was Hermione for multiple Halloweens in a row. Very low effort Halloween costume if you were a child with brown hair. Both my parents were quite into Harry Potter as well. It was like a family bonding activity. But I do think that J.K. Rowling is a turf, and it has put me off a lot of the content in my adulthood. But I still appreciate the work for what it is and did for me in my childhood. Your turn.
I have read the books and seen the films.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the movies are pretty mixed. I don't have a special affinity for any of them. I enjoy the first 4 books quite a lot. I think that I have a lot of issues with Voldemort and the latter half of the series. It's just very... the good v evil dynamic is a very children's booky. But yeah, I agree with your wider concerns regarding the franchise and its creator. Okay, on to the fun stuff.
You don't want to talk about Fantastic Beasts?
No, so I actually forgot it existed.
I love you, Eddie Redmayne. Eddie Redmayne stands in this household.
So Neil
Free my boy.
Cicierega on Newgrounds had a series called Potter Puppet Pals, where he did flash animation of Harry Potter characters. Basically, he would recreate some of these on YouTube. This time, rather than flash animation, he had actual puppets of the Harry Potter characters. And if you are unaware what Potter Puppet Pals is it's a series of, either original songs or comedy bits featuring maybe 5 or 6 of the Harry Potter cast.
I mean, I guess it's in the name. It's quite literally, I guess it's a simple concept, but I suppose if you've never seen it, then we need to explain it. But this is, I think, the most viral video we've talked about so far on the pod. I think previously the most viewed videos we've talked about had about 100 million views. Mysterious Ticking Noise is sitting at 200 million on the original video, not including another re-upload to the later developed exclusive Potter Puppet Pals channel. Originally, everything lived on Neil's channel. So please let us know in the comments of the YouTube version of this pod if you had never heard of Potter Puppet Pals, because I'd like to know. But I feel like this was a pretty viral thing among, I don't want to say children, but young fans of Harry Potter. Because, as we said in the opening of the show, you have even seen this video. Is this, so far, in all of our research for the pod, is this the only video you've actually seen prior to us starting? Watching things?
I think so, yes.
Wow. So, kind of speaks to its cultural cut-through. Even someone who didn't watch YouTube was... I feel like you would maybe say you were subjugated to having to watch this.
Honestly,
did you enjoy it at the time?
I don't know if I even watched it or if I just was through cultural osmosis exposed to what the premise is. But I assume I watched it at some point or someone showed it to me.
Yes. I would like to say that I believe that this was my introduction to YouTube. So a bit of a... Well, okay, I think for anyone watching, I think technically my first YouTube video was Shoes, because I remember watching Shoes, but I believe this was my first idea of YouTube as a platform. Not sure, because I think I got a new YouTube account, but I think this could have been technically my first subscription. Maybe. Hard to fact check, but I remember going through Neil's channel and watching all the Potter Puppet Pals, and I remember as they came out in 2007, 2008, 2009, it would be an event for me and my friends. We'd be a new Potter Puppet Pals came out, and we'd all watch it together. And I think maybe in a little bit of a disturbing aspect, I knew so many of these off by heart. I believe I downloaded them onto my iPod Nano. So I had them. I figured out how to do like a YouTube downloader, which is actually quite advanced, as I would have been like 12 in 2007. So I downloaded all of them, put them on my iPod Nano, and like would watch them after my mum turned the Wi-Fi modem off. So
that is so crazy to admit.
I actually held back a little bit, obviously, while we were watching them for your benefit, but I do know a lot of these. Like, it awoke something in me where I was like, it was like lay dormant, like a part of my brain.
I don't think there's a lot of rewatchability. Like,
What
I
do you
can't
mean?
imagine watching them because you know the jokes.
Go back in time. Way less content available to me as like a middle school child. It's not like I'd figured out how to do like internet piracy yet.
I mean, you did pirate Neil's videos on YouTube.
I mean, it's for private and personal use. I just put them on my iPod. But
Well,
I
don't think Neil minds.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, we'll get into that, but we have decided that we think Neil is an absolute G. But yeah, love the mysterious ticking noise. Very familiar with a lot of them. Shall we go through like a couple of the highlights in the Potter Puppet Pals
Yeah,
series?
I think you really should be leading this, given your intimate knowledge with Potter Puppet Pals. I think I've only seen the mysterious ticking noise.
Really?
My YouTube account said I had seen the Ginny one, I think. Like, I'd watched it through. I have no recollection of that. But
I think that would have maybe been us, like, at some point discussing this pod, like, or discussing.
Maybe, yeah. But I couldn't tell you anything about it. So, but yeah, we have the first one, which is just potions class, which I think maybe I had seen. Cause I just knew Snape was involved.
Yeah.
And he probably is he your favourite Potter Puppet Pals character?
No, I don't think Snape's my favourite.
Okay.
I do think, I mean, there is one, and feel like I could accidentally conflate a few of the videos because there's like kind of running gags or like character gags, I guess. Like Snape is very surly. And you know, like from Harry Potter, Snape does those like, I can teach you how to bottle wisdom, ensnare the senses.
Like Alan Rickman has a very iconic performance. And so the Snape character in this very much mirrors that, unlike some of the other characters.
Do you have a favorite character?
I think that probably just by virtue of him getting the most screen time, but the way that Harry is portrayed as especially like the chosen one, and his sense of everything must be about Harry Potter, that is obviously one of my primary issues with the series, in that like Harry Potter is basically
the book series,
Jesus
you mean?
Christ.
Like the actual, yeah.
Like it's so, the chosen one element is like, it grates on me so hard compared to the things I like about Harry Potter.
Where they actually poke fun at that in the like text of the books, where, you know, do you remember it's in like the fourth one or the fifth one where Hermione's like, you know, she just likes you because you're the chosen one, and Harry's like, I am the chosen one. That's like the one time they make fun of it in like the entire. Like,
isn't that in the movie? I feel like
is
that
it,
is
it a
not
movie
in the
inclusion?
I feel like that's a movie line.
Okay, I'm sure. I mean, I have my childhood friends who, and you know who you are if you're watching, who are big Harry Potter fans. I'm sure they can fact check that for us. But they don't really acknowledge it much within the actual like text. So having an entire series where they acknowledge that Harry's kind of like a narcissistic like sociopath is like really funny. Hermione sort of like, she's kind of just like a nerd or like a do-good kind of character, which I guess is fine. I like Ron a lot. Ron's voice, which is just, they just like bully him for being like,
he's just a loser.
He's just, well, it's sort of like they just portray him as like a beta to Harry's alpha, and his voice.
Well, look, that's
the voice
true
is so
to
funny.
The real media, so like they're right on about that.
But Ron just having that high pitch, like, I'm so sorry, Harry, is so like the pitiful voice, very funny. Neville is a squash / potato. Everyone else is a puppet when they introduce Neville, as we were discussing as we watched this, Neville kind of, I mean, yeah, like obviously we know the story, but like Neville kind of, you were saying he's a pick-me? You said Neville was a pick-me in the actual like text because they are trying to sneak out of the, and he's like, I'm gonna tell.
I don't know if I said he was a pick-me.
No, you definitely did.
But I do remember, I was like, oh, he's a bit annoying, hey.
and having as a like a squash / potato where they've just like drawn on him in Sharpie is funny. But do you think you have a favorite video? I think you liked Wizard Swears the most.
No.
Really?
The Vortex is the best one.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's where we get introduced to Cool Ron, which is
it's
Ron.
Ronaldo now.
Yeah. He wears a leather jacket. He gets a good song. He says he's Ronaldo. Like, that was funny. I like that.
This one I think has the best song. So like underrated Potter Papa Pal potentially, because it has the song which is like a Beach Boys sort of parody, which is like my name is Harry Potter, I'm the king of the school. And it has my favorite line, which was, I defeated Voldemort when I was a baby. I was even awesome when I was a baby. But my parents died when I was a baby. I grew up abused without any love. And then they go like, shooby-doo-what? Kind of a banger. Like, and I think when we're seeing like the Neil, anytime there's like a musical element, Neil is like, it rocks. But yeah, I was a big Potter Papa Pals fan in middle school, so a lot of this was just like a fun nostalgia trip for me.
Did you remember subscribing to the Cicierega channel, or do you recall it being the Potter Papa Pals channel? Because for context, he does eventually split his main channel he creates a separate Potter Papa Pals channel where the rest of the Potter Papa Pals videos go.
Remember the announcement video where he's like announcing it's actually announced by Harry, like the puppet, being like, we're going to have our own channel. And it's sort of like done in a meta way, which is quite playful and fun. But I remember that announcement coming and then subscribing to the new channel. But I had previously, I think, been subscribed to Neil's channel as well. Which, yeah, admittedly as a child, I didn't quite have as much interest in Neil's other very obscure works, which have a comparatively much lower view count. It sort of seemed like his channel popped off and was very like, Potter Papa Pals was the main thing. So it was nice to revisit some of his other work as well, because I think it's actually really good. But
they still, I feel, sit around 75,000 to 200,000 views. So he's still popping off, I think, because he's not a frequent uploader. Yeah. So I do think there's some dedicated audience that will watch most stuff that he puts out.
But I think it made sense for him to split Potter Papa Pals into its own channel, because I actually remember, it's kind of reminding me, seeing the uploads, and I'd be like, oh, a new upload from Neil, Potter Papa Pal's my favorite, and then it'll be something like insane and like very cursed, and I think at the time I didn't quite appreciate the more absurdist stuff that was not related to a franchise I already knew. So I think splitting off into the new channel and then subsequently uploading not that many more videos past like the existing ones. I think they maybe did 4 or 5 more.
Yep. You would expect it if it's like you're doing a new channel, he was going to be like, I'm going to upload hundreds of Potter Papa Pals and really take this, cash in on this mainstream success. But I did want to shout out Harry's Nightmares, which I think is where you really get the sense that Neil is like, I'm going to see how far we can take this concept, because it features Harry in like a dream sequence giving birth to Ron.
Yep.
Which is so like, we've come so far from the mysterious ticking noise, but that visual was something like straight out of a mainline Neil video, so I quite enjoyed that. Yeah,
it also has the Hermione I'm going to try and do it, and the Harry was like, Hermione was addicted to methamphetamines, and then she tried to kill us with a hammer. Like, and I remember, again, like all these lines like, tried to kill us with a hammer, I'm like, I remember all of us being like, hee hee hee, crowded around the school laptop. I was a really cool kid.
Yeah, look, at the time, Potter Papa Pals is a huge sensation. He wins YouTube awards for this, which is a fan vote, and he follows up with it by posting a 10-minute video of him caressing the award to his channel.
He's wearing like a fake mustache as well. Yep. It's very, very cute. Very, very charming.
But there are like tours of the Puppet Pals. They do, what's a Yule Ball event?
What do you mean, what's a Yule Ball event?
Explain.
Well, you know what the Yule Ball is.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is in the real world. It would
be like a holiday party with like a Harry Potter theme. So it would depend on scale. Have you not heard, you know how like now they do like Bridgerton balls?
Reluctantly, yes.
Yeah, so you understand the concept. They're like fan versions of existing parties and balls and things from fantasy. You're looking so...
Sorry, guys. It's not Harry Potter. I have a distaste for fan culture.
Yeah.
I say so on the podcast, but that's different.
No, we actually have had genuine arguments about this because, like, I was very much involved in fan culture. I think we just had different internet experiences. I had, like, I would say it's actually a pretty mild fangirl area, but, like, I was on Tumblr. I was, I saw all that, like, fandom Tumblr. I read fanfics and things like that as, like, a middle schooler, high schooler. And you just weren't across, like, fan art. Like, I thought fan art was so cool. Like, people are so talented and interested. Yeah, we have differing opinions on, or different experiences with fan culture. I used to go to conventions. I cosplayed a little bit when I was younger. Kind of want to do it again. Kind of, cosplay's really fun. But, yeah.
I just find fandom very much similar to iJustine and standing a company. I feel it overwhelmingly is focused on being a fan of a corporation's product, like an intellectual property, and it's very different to say I enjoy this artist's work, like I like the films of this director. It's like a fan is someone who's like, I like the characters of Harry Potter, and I am just not like that.
Yeah, I understand that. I think that there is a lot of young people.
That is the Harry Potter police. They're coming to get me.
I think a lot of young... Oh, Lord. It's the fandom. It's actually the fandom police coming to get you because they're very, vigilantly protective over their own.
It's the auras. That's Harry Potter, right? That's like the police of Harry Potter.
But yeah, I think, and you can see it with Potter Puppet Pals, but using like a very popular fandom, like it's creative shorthand to a degree, and you can feel any type of way about that. But it means that like we can go into that. We know who Harry is. We know who Hermione is. We know who Ron is. We get like the concept. So then if you're like someone who's like a young creative who's wanting to do, whether it's like, like Potter Puppet Pals, like a comedic video, or alternatively, like a fan artist or whatever, is a way for them to, I guess, practice that creativity. And then they go on to do other original works. Like the amount of, and spare me if anyone else is not like a Tumblr user from like the 2000s, 2010s, pre-Yahoo acquisition, or like slightly post, but seeing like a lot of fan artists, they would make this like really beautiful fan art. And again, it's like the time spent creating a character and stuff like that is time consuming. And they would do really beautiful fan art, and you would then go to this artist's page and be like, wow, they're so talented. Like they've done these beautiful paintings or digital drawings or whatever. And then you would go on and see their own original characters and original works. And same with like fanfic writers and things like that. I don't know. I feel a bit protective, or like, I guess I'm more empathetic to fan culture and how a lot of people use it as one channel to, output their creativity and also get people in the door. How many people like Harry Potter? How many people do you think who liked Harry Potter then went on to become fans of Neil Cicierega outside of the Potter Puppet Pals? I think quite a few. I would count myself among them. I followed Neil, and we should mention his sister, Emmy, also worked on Potter Puppet Pals as well as a couple of his other friends. So then I believe, especially when they were on Tumblr, because Neil and Emmy both had Tumblrs, I believe I went on to follow their Tumblrs as well. So I would argue, I don't know, it's like a top of funnel marketing technique. Do you think? Maybe?
Yeah, look, yeah. I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna go too hard on the concept at this time, but
speaking of Neil's other projects.
Yeah, look, I want to segue into this musical stuff, which we did see in the Potter Puppet Pals videos, but he is, separate to his YouTube career, a musician with releasing music under several different names and projects. But in terms of ones we wanted to shout out because they're on the YouTube channel, he does a series of albums which are all mashups focused by Smash Mouth's All Star, which is the "Hey Now You're an All-Star" song from Shrek. So
that was like a viral disease in meme culture, especially on like Tumblr and stuff, like Shrek memes. I kind of feel like now Shrek memes are like, I don't want to say they give me the ick, but Shrek memes have been around. Like the idea of like Shrek or All-Star was very like 2010s, like early 2010s vibes. And now I'm seeing like people going like Shrek rave and stuff like that. I'm like, maybe it's my own self cringe, but I'm like, it's like millennial meme. I'm almost
I just think it's secular. Like Shrek is currently down. People are hating that like Shrek 5 announcement.
Yeah.
But TikTok had the Shrek trend again. And it's like, yeah, Shrek memes have now been a mainstay of, meme culture.
For like a decade plus. Yeah. Crazy.
Like basically the whole, and none of them rely on any of the later Shrek films, it seems. It's like you only need to see Shrek 1 and Shrek 2.
Yeah.
No one knows what happened in Shrek 4. So it'll be very interesting to see. And also, sorry, the Shrek announcement video this week had him reacting to
Shrek memes.
the memes.
Yeah, crazy.
Which is crazy. And that's like the first shot of the actual film that, DreamWorks want to make $1 billion on.
Yeah, they do. Like, they're doing the, like, sexy dancing Shrek meme, which is, crazy.
But the reception to all these mashup albums, and they feature All-Star to, like, a decreasing degree, because he's still released one, say, 5 years ago, which, from what I've read, only includes Smash Mouth in a very, like, subtle way, and they use a lot of other 2000s and 2010s pop music to, like, form the basis of the album. But it has a very like positive reception, so people respect what he's doing in the mashup space. There's also the Lenny Kravitz lyric video, which is you made a note that you cried at this video. It was so funny.
Well, for anyone watching on YouTube with the visual component, we'll just include the screenshot of the opening like scene, which is like a default Windows Movie Maker like title setup. I don't know how to describe it. And this was when I was watching this, I was like, I think Neil's style of humor is so like early Tumblr. And I'm not saying that like Neil's humor is early Tumblr, but like early Tumblr is like influenced by like that Neil style of like just absurdist comedy, because a Windows Movie Maker title screen isn't funny.
Well, I feel like an audience, if you're thinking, what does this look like? Think if you're in the 2010s and you click a video that was uploaded in like 2008 because you want to hear a song on YouTube, you're showing your friend, and it has that title where it's literally just plain color. It has a font that like fades in, and it's just like Lenny Kravitz, I Want to Fly.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like if someone made it as fast as possible with as little care as possible. Like Lenny Kravitz, I Want to Fly. It's like some of the words are like on different lines. Like they haven't even bothered to go in and enter it, so it's like spaced out evenly and stuff like that.
The copyright thing also.
Oh yeah, it's. I need to tell you, I was like, I had tears in my eyes, and maybe that says something about my sense of humor and that it's like irreparably broken or just forged in this kind of internet humor. But it says like copyright 2014, no copyright intended, or something like that, which that's also really funny, because it's like it's so that early style of like people not knowing how to use computers, people just chucking things in and like hitting export, not actually like spending any time on it. I don't know,
but the actual
so
content of the video and the song is that Neil has rearranged the Lenny Kravitz song I Want to Fly so that the lyrics basically take on alternative meaning. But because of the way the video is uploaded and initially presents itself, I think the idea is you could be an unsuspecting viewer looking up this song and then be tricked, quote unquote, into clicking this one where you'd be like, am I hallucinating? Like, sorry, Lenny Kravitz is saying what?
Yeah. Do you know what this reminded me of when we were watching it?
Yeah.
The karaoke circumcision channel.
Yeah, 100%.
For those of you, sorry, this is a very slight tangent apart from Neil, but there is this karaoke channel. I don't know how I found it. I can't remember. I found it. You found it?
I read about it online.
Okay. Max read about it online, allegedly. Are you sure? Okay. I'll take your word for it. But essentially, it is a YouTube channel that is like presented like many, like a karaoke channel. I feel like everyone has seen one of those before. Again, you type in, blah, 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 whatever song it is, karaoke, like Justin Bieber, As Long As You Love Me, karaoke. And this is one of the things. And there's nothing about this. It looks very innocuous. It's just like a lyric karaoke channel. But it's like the karaoke tracks, but they have the lyrics to be increasingly around a storyline of someone's child getting circumcised.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
The perspective of the singer is that they wish they could prevent this circumcision or save their child now that they've been circumcised.
Because they've been divorced from their ex-partner. Yeah. There's like law, but this is one that I frequently... I was gonna say, I bring this out at parties. You can only really do it once, but like I have friends who like doing karaoke, so I'll be like, guys, let's do karaoke. And there's one that's like Toto's Africa, and it starts out pretty normal, but then it starts transitioning into like, you know, something foreskin away from you. So it's kind of a banger. Anyway, sorry guys, just need to talk about that because that is one of my favorite niche YouTube channels. Could we have done an episode on that? Probably not. I feel like that's the extent of the...
You're not dragging me down the circumcision timeline. Speaking of, finally, music, Bustin', which is his Ghostbusters theme remix.
Good.
As I'm sure you can tell by the title, there is a lot of play on the fact that Bustin' makes me feel good is inherently just a crazy lyric. But very funny in that he spins the end of the song to be primarily about I ain't afraid of no bed. And it's about getting a good night's sleep.
Yeah, and he does like little edits of them to have like honk shoe stuff, which we love the honk shoe meme in this household. It's very good. It just everything is so good. Like we didn't again watch all of Neil's videos. We just kind of clicked through and picked ones that looked of interest to us, but it's like every single video we were like, yeah, that was good. That was also funny. But I feel like you had a favorite music video which actually didn't have any lyrics really at all. And would you like to talk about it?
Are you talking about Brody Quest or Rugrats Acid Remix?
Brody Quest.
Brody Quest is the probably second most well-known Neil Cicierega production after the Potter Puppet Pals, in that it has been discussed on the Colbert Show. The song has been sold in Rock Band. To give you an explanation of what the video is, it's like a return to Neil's Animutation style from his earlier work, and it basically involves the actor Adrian Brody, who hopefully has won Best Actor Oscar by the time this releases. We'll see.
Really?
He basically, a still of him slides across various backgrounds. It's like him going across New York City, various earthly backgrounds, but he eventually transcends into space, and then the backgrounds become increasingly sort of psychedelic until you get like the appearance that like Adrian Brody is God. Meanwhile, like the Neil original music plays in the background. And this became sort of a meme at the time. People did their own spins on Brody Quest featuring like other creators or other celebrities. And Neil encouraged this, like he released the audio for people to use. But it is very funny to me that Adrian Brody himself has been asked basically about Brody Quest. What are your thoughts on Brody Quest?
I liked it. I don't know. I'm not like, I don't think I've seen a lot of Adrian Brody work. So I think if there
You've seen him on SNL?
Yeah. You're just laughing. For those of the viewers or listeners who don't know, Adrian Brody was banned from being on SNL for going off script in terms of like, he went against the plan and agreed plan. So obviously SNL is live. And he does like, a very...
I think he's in blackface.
He's in blackface and does like a Rastafarian like type of impression, which is just quite offensive. It's funny that he... Like, it's not funny, but it's, like, funny that he did that because it's, like, an insane thing to do. I feel is the way I would phrase that. But, yeah, I'm not, like, a big Adrian Brody head. I don't think I've seen a lot of Adrian Brody work. So I feel like this, more so than other things, I was a bit like... Any subtext of it being Adrian Brody, I think, was lost on me a bit. But maybe he doesn't need it.
There isn't much, really. Like, okay. The only thing would be he is quite a serious actor.
Okay.
in terms of like role selection.
But he's not a
and
serious
performances.
man. Like, to do that on SNL. That's not a serious person. But
Yeah.
he's like, he takes serious roles. So I guess that's the thing. It's probably the same as doing like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah. Adrian, a bit more contemporary, but
Sure.
you get where we're going. What I mentioned before, the Rugrats acid remix, this I think
Horrific
did kind of
vibes.
scare you.
Yeah.
You did try and get me to name the Rugrats. I could only say one of them, I think. Did I get one? Stewie.
No.
He's not a Rugrat.
That's from Family Guy. Stu is the dad.
Oh, yeah, look, okay. So I got none of the Rugrats. If you put Chucky in front of me, it would have come to me. But
You didn't watch Rugrats as a child.
I've seen the Rugrats movie.
Okay. I did watch Rugrats as a child, and I think it's really cursed. I don't know if anyone else agrees, but I think Rugrats, Cow and Chicken, Courage the Cowardly Dog, any like Cartoon Network or like Nickelodeon cartoons, they just have this vibe to them which is so like just grim. I don't know what to say. Like they're just there's like a darkness to them. Like a lot of I mean, not to be like these childhood cartoons were actually seriously fucked up. Like not to be like that, but there is like, you know, adult themes in these and they're meant for like young children. I don't know, guys.
Take your word for it.
Also, the Rugrats movie is like traumatizing. Are you thinking of the one where they go to Paris?
Yeah.
Oh, have you not seen the one where
No.
they're like in the forest crying and there's like a monkey and stuff like?
I don't
there's
think so, no.
Okay, the original Rugrats movie is like, you think Tommy is going to kill his brother at one point. Anyway, don't worry about it. We can talk about
Honestly, I actually don't know if I've seen the movie. I think I've just got on the ride at Dreamworld and
Ugh.
watched bits of the movie in the line of
Anyway.
the ride.
All to say, Rugrats is kind of, this is like a horror piece, I would say. It's very scary. It's like quite psychedelic. It has like the noses of the two dads like emerging together. Tommy's head grows like spider legs and like crawls towards the screen. They also cut it with like footage from like horrific world events. Like they cut in like 9/11 and stuff like that into this like Rugrats thing. It's also like the Rugrats theme is quite psychedelic, but again, you're not really familiar. It's like
I know,
a play.
It's like yeah.
But like the visuals as well are like psychedelic
okay.
colors and building blocks and things. So
I just like this because it's like pregnant Elsa. Anytime you take like childhood media and do spooky stuff to it and put it on YouTube, I imagine children watching it and being freaked out.
But the thing is, yeah, I feel like the difference with that though is like Elsagate, which I do actually think I have it in our, you know, episode planning doc that will at some point cover Elsagate because it's like just so bizarre and was like a YouTube phenomenon for a period of time. But like Rugrats does lend itself to be kind of scary and dark, whereas I don't think like Frozen does in the same way. But anyway, it was bad vibes. But it was a good piece of art, but it was scary
It's
to
the
me
Disney
personally.
v Nickelodeon
Yeah.
divide.
I don't know. It
Anyway.
was good. Oh,
Talking of children's media,
Yes.
So Neil does still do some sort of sketch, short comedy / genre films, and they do feature his sister quite prominently.
Mm-hmm.
Jumanji in real life is one we watched.
I
You are a fan of
loved
Jumanji,
this-
yeah.
Yeah, so I watched Jumanji a lot as a child. One of my parents was a big Robin Williams fan, so I watched a lot of like Robin Williams movies as a kid. Saw Jumanji several times. That movie also is kind of like crazy, but you haven't seen the Robin Williams
No.
movie. But essentially this sketch is them like doing kind of like, okay, we have Jumanji, which if you guys don't know, Jumanji is like an enchanted board game. That's kind of the thing. And it's kind of like Death Note, not really, but it's like you do things in the board game and then they happen in the real world. So if you're playing in your family home and, you know, you land on the tiger square, then like a tiger appears and it like crawls down. Yeah, no, you haven't seen, you're like,
I thought they were in a video game.
no.
The Rock is like a teenager.
No.
That's all the Jumanji I've seen.
No, so yeah, but the original thing is like you're playing the board game and it's kind of like a Ouija board. Like it's like you shouldn't play Jumanji because then like you're trapped in the house and you become entered into the jungle and whatever else. So in this video, they're playing Jumanji and like they're landing on the tiger square and like there's no tiger, like nothing's happening. And they do this cut, which is like so funny to me, where they do this cut to like looking at a Robin Williams.
It's like the shot is established of the kids playing the game, and then out of focus on the wall behind them. During the course of the shot, the focus shifts to the back wall, and there is a portrait of Robin Williams doing like his most like smiling dead poets, I'm an inspirational figure look. And you found that very funny.
Well, yeah, because like it's like it's a family portrait in your family. It's so silly. And then they address it like they know him personally, and then they take offense when the game isn't working. Like they're like, this isn't like the movie at all. So then I think they burn Robin's portrait in like the fire to be like, screw you, Robin, Jumanji isn't real. And then spoilers, the payoff of the video is that, sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but like they open the newspaper and it's like Robin Williams died in a fire, and they're like, oh my god, Jumanji is real. And that's a payoff.
And they killed Robin Williams.
It's so evil and stupid. Was he already dead at the time of this video?
I don't believe he was dead, no. I don't think they would do it if he was actually dead.
Yeah, you'd hope. Well, yeah, not sure. Anyway, but it was a really good video.
R.I.P. Robin Williams.
R.I.P. Robin Williams, actually.
I'm always saying that comedians are like the philosophers of our time.
You have never said that.
We lost a great philosopher when Robin died, and he was inspirational to me, to many in my generation.
What's your favourite Robin Williams movie?
Dead Poets Society.
What's your second favourite Robin Williams
Aladdin.
movie? Third favourite?
Flubber.
Nah, you got to stand Fern Gully.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No.
Australian themed animated movie. Big studio conflict because Robin Williams was the genie, and they're like, you can't go work for not Disney. But he was like, but I want to be Batty in Fern Gully. And then he has a song where he's like, I'm Batty. Nope. Okay, well, one of us had a more enriched childhood that was outdoors, and one of us went to Blockbuster a lot more. It was me.
Oh, I was like, is Fern Gully real?
One of us had divorced parents and one of us did not, I think, is the case.
I think you're just more culturally Australian. Like, I've never heard
I
Fern
didn't
Gully.
even live here for my childhood. Look, yeah, we'll have this. We'll finish this fight off camera, off the record.
The final video I wanted to talk about is the why I haven't been uploading video from Neil. Common video from YouTubers. They establish an audience. The audience is like, where are my treats? Where's my content? And the creator decides to basically front up and be like, this is why I haven't been doing videos.
I think typically it comes from like over time, the creator increases their production value and puts more stock into making YouTube videos. It's not a hobby anymore. It's their job. And they also are like maybe more personally invested in the quality of the videos. And then the videos get better and everyone loves the videos, but then they expect for them to be making those videos in the same frequency. But it's like, you can't make a masterpiece every week, I would say. Like there's I think it's an unfair expectation, but equally it's like, how do you serve your audience and make them happy while also maintaining the level of, I mean, depends on the creator. I think a lot of the ones we've watched so far, Smosh, Ryan Heger, are making like sketch videos which involve scripting and ideation and like creative concepts, which is very different to something like vlogging, which is like you're going about your daily life, etc. So
I think you're being very charitable. I think a lot of creators have
maybe I have a sense of empathy because it is hard to come up with videos.
They like come out of the
times.
blocks, they're firing, they're passionate, and then over time they become increasingly interested in other pursuits or the reality of life. They have a job, things like that. Life gets in the way. You
could also become disillusioned. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I think
you become burnt out.
It could also, it's burnout. What if I think a lot of creators experience like you work really hard on a video that you think is going to do really well. That is your new. I'm doing a new series. It's going to be my new thing. Everyone's going to love this way more than my old stuff, and everyone's kind of like, no, we just want the old stuff, and then that can be creatively unsatisfying.
And a lot of creators, it's very easy to come up with big ideas, but the execution of those takes a lot of hard work.
And editing.
And they can be found lacking in that department. But that's not to say that Neil is like this, because while he does talk about how he hasn't been uploading, it quickly becomes apparent that this video is an excuse to depict him being eaten by a skull and then he becomes a skull, and the video finishes with him as a talking skull. And I think we're quite tickled by the skeleton humor as someone who is a fan of skeleton-based jokes. Is that correct?
You're so confused because I actually had to explain. I feel like I have to explain this every like 3 to 6 months when skeleton humor comes up, that I think skeletons... You're looking at me like I'm deranged. I think skeletons are really funny. There's this really special subsect of what I would call like absurdist skeleton humor. Anyone who knows Skull Trumpet, I think Skull Trumpet is a comedy masterpiece. I think Skull Trumpet is really funny. I also think, whenever I just think of the concept of Hete Skeleton Army, which is just Skeleton Army, but they've misspelled the. Are you aware of like... I
have no idea what you're talking about.
But just the idea of like Hete Skeleton Army, which is very like, yeah, again, like 2014 Tumblr. This is like all very... He is touching on what I would describe as like formative humor points to me that I found really funny when I was 15. And obviously, by the fact that I'm struggling to get through talking about this segment, I still think skeletons or skulls as a concept are really funny when they're funny. Otherwise, I think they're scary. But like, I don't want to go to like the catacombs. I think that would be scary. I don't want to see like actual skulls. I don't want body horror. I don't want like actual spooky stuff. But the concept of like spooky scary skeletons, you get that. Spooky scary skeletons. I was a huge fan of spooky scary skeletons to like a disturbed and unfunny degree that it's like it wasn't that funny, but I made it my personality for like 2 months. I'm glad you already love me. I feel like this would be...
I think it's pretty harmless, actually. I'm just bemused because, like, I don't know.
It's not... It's so... They're just so
it's
silly.
Just not it's not like, you know, some people like, I like stand-up comedy. I like cringe comedy. And you're like, I like skeleton comedy. I'm like, wow, it's slim pickings out here for skeleton comedy fans. But...
It was
anyway.
good. It's good. He gets his arm eaten up by the little skeleton.
I
Then
agree,
he becomes the skeleton. The skeleton's talking. It's so funny.
It's the best... why I haven't been uploading video yet. It's quite actually similar to when creators started to do sort of absurdist takes on their 4 million or so subscriber milestone videos.
Yeah.
It's like a staple video, but you do a unique spin on it and actually makes it more watchable. And we all know that, you know, content is king on YouTube, and if you can make ad revenue from your why I haven't been uploading video, then
yeah,
you know, there's an ulterior motive here to make it watchable. Okay, Neil, in the present day, he is, I would say, inactive to a sense on his main channel. That's not to say he's not in content. He creates content with our friends that we mentioned, Ryan Murphy and Kevin James. It is a bit sporadic. They did a live stream recently. They do, both Neil and as a collective, the three boys have Patreons with, I would say, very, very modest paid followings. And it does seem that Neil, who got married somewhat recently and had his first child, is potentially...
I didn't know that.
Oh, spoilers. He's potentially... and his wife is an illustrator, I believe.
Yeah, she makes like graphic novels, which is really cool. I think being a graphic novelist is like one of the coolest jobs. I am in awe of artists because I can't draw. I just think artists are so... I have such art envy.
Art envy.
Yeah.
Look, you might have parental envy of Neil because it seems he is being a dad to his children.
Wow.
And YouTube has taken a step back.
Maybe I just have dad envy.
But in terms of legacy, we made a note, Neil seems based. So, of course, like he's pioneered Animutation. He's been very influential in terms of his style of content.
Yeah.
He created like a mega smash fan work that includes one of the most viewed YouTube videos of all time. But there is 2 specific videos that we picked as a Neil seems based example.
Yeah.
The first being he made a video targeting Shane Dawson and Ray William Johnson in the early 2010s. Do you remember this video?
I don't know. I can't remember what it's called, but I remember us watching it and I was very surprised because we've seen other creators thus far like referencing other big YouTubers, but in like an admiring way, in being like a, you know, doing a tribute to them, being like, shout out to this person, or being like, you know, taking elements from their, you know, I guess like mannerisms.
He just called it, and it was in 2010, Tribute to Shane Dawson TV and Ray William Johnson.
Oh my gosh. And so this video is like, I would say it's like a musical slideshow of their thumbnails, which if you haven't seen Shane Dawson and Ray William Johnson's thumbnails, they were very of the time of YouTube, which I think this was like 2008, 2009, 2010 maybe, where it's usually like a bright yellow or bright red background, which is funny because we do bright red thumbnails. But it's a bit of a different vibe. And it would usually be them making like a YouTube face, which, you know, is like doing like a soy face, like, you know, kind of, you know, an exclamation vibe. And then it would usually have a picture of someone with large boobs or some type of like sexualized image. And they would try and find a way to shoehorn that into the content, even if that wasn't like what the video was about. And even like Smosh were guilty of doing this. And
yeah, Smosh loved a sexy thumbnail.
Yeah, the hot babe in thumbnail trope, which is definitely a bit of a hallmark of, you know, early YouTube. So this video is just a slideshow of Shane Dawson and Ray William Johnson's thumbnails. And he, like, because of the faces they're doing, they often have like open mouths. So he makes like a different musical, like a oh, or like and he turns it into like a classical music sort of song.
Very effective musical diss track.
Yeah, it's actually kind of slay. Because I saw this initially and I was like, this seems bizarre that, like, I was genuinely was like, this is an actual tribute to these YouTubers. Like, it doesn't seem like, you know, I mean, parasocially, I don't know Neil, but I was like, this seems odd. But he literally was basically being like, you guys make bad content. It sucks. Can I also just say, I would like to make a note in thinking about this. I don't think any of Neil's content leans on misogyny as a comedic crutch.
You are probably correct. We didn't vet everything. If we're cancelling him, you know, there's a fair amount of fat phobia in Potter Puppet Pals.
Well,
but is it depiction or is it endorsement?
Well, because Harry is shown to be a pretty, like, terrible person. There are some points where Harry makes jokes about Ron being fat, but, like, Harry is shown to be, like, basically
I think it's funny. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, but like, I guess there's no... I guess what's the term I'm looking for? He's not, like, punching down in really any of his comedy. Or, I don't know.
He doesn't, but it's not really first person, so it's a bit tough of a standard to compare. But I would say what you mean is Neil, his comedy, while it can skew, like, adult in themes, because, like, people get murdered and stuff, like, there's a theme of death, he doesn't have... sort of any sort of the unsavoriness of some of the creators of the time in terms of the targets of their humor.
Yeah. Again, not that YouTube is limited to Smosh or to Nigahiga, but to his, like, I guess peers at the time, and also ones that you are now familiar with having seen them. But, like, both Smosh and Ryan make videos where there are, like, women being really ditzy, and that is portrayed as the joke. Like, that they are, you know, dumb, hot women. And I think there's only one video where that I have seen on Neil's channel where he starts to play into this, like, dumb, like, Valley Girl trope. But that is immediately subverted. It's the Zac Efron video. The Troy Bolton video.
The slumber party.
Yeah, it's like a slumber party. So they're depicted as, like, you know, dumb teenage slumber party. But then it's immediately subverted because it's, like, not... Do you know what I mean? Like, the joke isn't that there...
No, and also that is like a play up of the depiction of the
like,
slumber party.
Yeah, or like
in
Scream
media,
or like slasher, horror stuff. So I don't know. I just wanted to add to that because we're talking about we think Neil is based. The theory that Neil is slay.
Well,
and
he did do this video which is called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pokemon, which starts out as if it's just another original Neil like Pokemon song. Like obviously the Poke rap everyone loved at the time. And he did some more Pokemon-themed content throughout the years. But the song is just very normal Neil stuff. But then it just dramatically, out of nowhere, he just basically says that he is endorsing Obama in the US election. And then it goes back to Pokemon stuff. But then he'll just be like, vote for Obama in the election.
Yeah,
so it's like
I
a
think
stealth
I
endorsement.
think the lyrics are literally just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pokemon vote for Obama in the election.
Something
1,
like
2,
that, yeah.
something like that. It's pretty like straight up, and again, funny because we've talked multiple times now across episodes of people, you know, where they start to, especially when they get a little bit older, like, you know, they're in their mid-20s or early 30s, they start to engage in politics publicly on the YouTube channel, but it's always like, in a lot of cases, a very like, initially like they're just talking about politics as a concept or like making fun of presidents as a concept, but they're never endorsing, except for obviously our Queen Justine, who goes on to endorse Hillary in the 2012 election.
Oh, I definitely think Neil would be politically
Bernie
active. No. I'm not going to say that. Like,
Yeah, we
I
don't
just
know
think
for
that
certain.
given what we know of him, I think that he would not be afraid to voice his political opinions post this election.
Yeah, but I think again, it seems that that's 2008, right?
Yeah.
Or 2012 was the Obama.
I believe
Could have been either.
Yeah, it was one of the Obamas.
Yeah, but he does that when so many other YouTubers like just won't endorse a candidate for fear of obviously losing some of their audience, which, you know, valid. But yeah, it's just interesting that he just doesn't seem to care.
When I was looking up Neil after this video, I came across a Twitter exchange between him and JonTron.
Do you know who JonTron is?
I don't know who he is. I just know that he's bad. Like, I just know there's negative vibes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
But I
that's
can't
fair.
actually remember what he did specifically. But I wanted to do a little role play, and you're going to be JonTron,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm going to be Neil. So this is JonTron tweeting at Neil.
Okay. At Neil. Seriously, man, you are a real talented guy. Been watching you for years. Keep it up.
At JonTron's show, thanks. All I know about you is that you were a dick to that guy who really politely asked you to not say the R word, and now this. So it seems that his ire against certain creators doesn't just extend to Ray William Johnson and Shane Dawson.
Yeah.
But it is very funny to be like, you're one of my idols, and your idol to be like, all I know about you is that you suck, and that's it.
It's
So,
just, yeah, he just seems, I would say unbothered is a good way to describe it. He just seems very cool to me personally. Also, I want to note, as we're kind of nearing the kind of conclusion of this episode, we've talked a lot about Neil, but I did bring up Emmy Cicierega because she is his younger sister and she is a big part of Potter Papa Pals. She does a lot of the voices, I think, or they have multiple arms doing the puppets. But Emmy, like I said, I did sort of loosely follow Neil and Emmy's careers like across Tumblr and stuff, but Emmy was a storyboard artist, I believe, and I think also maybe an animator or illustrator for the TV show Gravity Falls, which I was a big fan of when it was airing. I used to watch it with my younger brother, so Darcy, who's probably listening to the pod. Love you, best brother ever. Siblings. But that was like a very, I don't know, I really liked Gravity Falls, and I would say Alex Hirsch, who's the creator of Gravity Falls, has a very similar sense of humor. Obviously, it's like adapted a bit because it's like a Disney property, but it's a very like sense of that obscure humor in animation. I don't know. There's something there in that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Hirsch was a fan of Neil Cicierega, and that is how.
Well, Neil did do some songs for Gravity Falls. And I think only one was included in the show. But yeah, I think it's fair to say those two get along.
Yeah.
And sorry, Alex Hirsch is in some of Neil's recent content. He guests on that live stream. We tuned into.
He like calls in as like a ghost.
as well as Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah. I think Neil has less than 1 million subscribers on YouTube currently. So compared to other YouTubers that we talk about, like, he has less of, I guess, a YouTube presence. Like, you'd be like, I mean, obviously it's like 700 or 800,000 subscribers. Nothing to sniff at all. That's still like a really established YouTuber. It kind of speaks to, like, it doesn't matter if you're not like the biggest YouTuber. It's like, you could have like 100,000 people watching his early, videos, and of those, it could be Alex Hirsch, Weird Al Yankovic, like a bunch of, I would say, quite influential people in pop culture who are
It's the
fans
Velvet
of yours.
Underground of YouTubers.
Sure. I don't know if I get that reference. When I first was introduced to it, I was in middle school. I loved Potter Papa Pals. I thought it was like the funniest thing. Me and my friends used to watch it. But revisiting now and watching some of his other comedy stuff, I can so see how wide his influence was in terms of his sense of humor, in terms of the type of gags that, you know, kind of developed, I guess, internet humor in like the mid 2000s, early 2010s. And kind of as a result, not to get like too, you know, personal journey about this episode, but like my sense of humor, I feel like it was really weird watching some of these being like, this is something that I have found funny, and seeing that it has been there on Neil's channel all along. I'm like, to me, I'm like, is Neil my father of humor? I don't, maybe that's too like, you know, too intense, but yeah, I think Neil has had like a massive impact on internet culture, and of which I have partaken in quite a large part of. What about you? Any final thoughts on Neil?
I would just say, yeah, I enjoyed Neil and his videos to a great degree more than the other creators we've watched so far. It was almost like a little treat getting videos that I enjoyed for the most part.
I wanted to give you a treat.
I don't think they'll be able to hear it.
That's the YouTube police coming to get you for speaking crimes against its kings and queens.
But yeah, so like I am honestly a fan of Neil, and I actually subscribed to his channel after we finished watching these videos this week. So if that's not an endorsement.
Is this the first person so far that we've covered yet?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Maybe you subscribe to Lonely Girl 15.
Can you imagine if you just saw me just watching iJustine? Just you wake up and I'm like, don't look. And it's just iJustine buying the iPhone 11. No, the iPhone like 19 or whatever.
I also need to say that because for these videos, I often do the research on my like personal YouTube account. I have messed up my YouTube algorithm. So now, even though I'm not subscribed to iJustine, I get like post notifications when iJustine posts a video. Like they're like, we thought you'd be interested in this. You know, those ones from YouTube being like, watch iJustine unbox the iPhone 18e or whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to watch this peacefully to my Queen Justine. Respect, but also like, I know when I'm not part of a particular demographic. I'm literally an Android user. Anyway, it's fine.
Okay. No hate for our Queen iJustine, the tech Barbie. Lucy, what are you subscribing to this week?
This week I am subscribing to the TV show Younger, which if you guys don't know, Younger is a show starring Sutton Foster and Hilary Duff. So random. So the show was created and I believe showrun by Darren Star, who created Sex and the City, and of course the iconic show Emily in Paris. And, you know, speaking of the topic of this video, you know, Darren Star walked so that Ryan Murphy could run. But it is, I feel like sort of well known, but sort of not, because the concept of the show is Sutton Foster, our musical theatre queen, rumoured new girlfriend of Australian icon Hugh Jackman. We saw her live actually, and she was really amazing, very talented slay. But she plays a woman who's trying to get back into the publishing industry. She's in her early 40s, and so she pretends to be younger than she is. She says she's like 26, so she pretends to be like 15 years younger in order to get a job in the publishing industry, and then fun times ensue. And it's a very lighthearted comedy show. It kind of, if you've ever seen The Bold Type and you enjoyed The Bold Type, it's similar to that. Similar again to Emily in Paris or Sex and the City, but it's just really light, easy viewing. I've had a couple of busy, stressful weeks, and I just feel like I can just turn my brain off and watch this in little 20-minute chunks.
I've seen you watching it over my shoulder. No, over your shoulder. Sorry, at points in recent weeks. So I can only really say the casting is crazy, because Sutton Foster, respect. She does not look like a 20-something-year-old woman.
But she could pass for it if someone looked... I don't know. I think that's the point of the show.
But there are... it's more just like... I think there are more actresses that could play 20 at 40.
Doesn't
matter. If I was to name them...
It doesn't matter.
Sutton, maybe not one. Yeah, look, but that's because I haven't watched the show. I've just seen it from afar.
The premise is...
You know?
makes for, I was kind of skeptical because I don't, that type of premise. I was like, how far can they take it? But it's quite well paced. There's like some really fun like love triangle stuff in there. It's very light. Okay, I don't think it's groundbreaking television. I'm not going to be like, it's actually better than Succession. It's not, but it's fun. And sometimes that's what you need. So that's what I'm subscribing to this week. How about you, Max? What are you subscribing to this week?
Something that is better than Succession is the YouTube recaps of Married at First Sight Australia.
No way.
So
No way.
I don't know, for our international viewers, Married at First Sight, called Maths here commonly, is a show where they take strangers and they marry them in a ceremony. Obviously it's for TV, but the idea is that then the contestants that are married then spend the next few weeks living together, and they have to overcome all of the typical relationship drama that you do in a marriage, right? So it's very silly, but it's like an institution in reality TV in Australia. It's like one of the most popular shows.
It's kind of controversial. Also, can I ask, Max, have you ever seen a full episode of Maths?
No. I would never watch Maths because it's like the episode is like an hour long and there's multiple ones a week, I think. So in terms of a time investment, no way. But something caught my eye because of news coverage of the current season, and I wanted to get a feel of what's everyone talking about. I want to be in the zeitgeist with my colleagues. And the YouTube channel for Maths publishes like 3 to 4 minute full recaps of each episode, and we have watched probably 20 of these, and I can attest to the fact that you actually don't need to watch Maths the show because all of the plot critical stuff is in these 4-minute episodes. So you could just be fully across all the maths you need to know, and it's like they cut out all of the filler. And so I really quite enjoyed being able to follow along the maths discussion this season while spending, 4 minutes an episode rather than 40, getting to grips with what everyone's talking about.
Everyone else sits down multiple nights a week for like an hour to watch Maths. Once a week we sit down for 20 minutes and we're caught up.
And we actually got worried that they cancelled the recaps because they didn't upload for like 2 weeks. And we were like, oh, are we going to like watch Maths? And we were both like, no. So I guess we won't know what happens. But it was like the intern came back from school holidays and like all of the Maths recap episodes, they caught up and posted like 20 in one day.
Yeah.
And you were like, look at the YouTube sub box, and it's like we have all these Maths episodes that I get to catch up on. So that's what I'm subscribing to this week.
Wow. Yeah. Very, very valid. I thought you were going to say something more erudite.
Wow. Okay. Don't know how to take that. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Rewind Time. Let's, I think we gave it a good shot on Neil Cicierega. I'm feeling very sweaty,
Yeah, we are sweating.
I'm very hungry. I think it's going to be lunchtime soon. Yeah. But, Lucy, thank you for joining me this week. Thank you to everyone who has commented or left feedback on our recent episodes. I had some very interesting discussion with friend of the show Fran about what Ryan Heger would think of the movie Better Man, otherwise known as the Robbie Williams monkey movie. So thank you for that, Fran. And if you would like to leave us a comment or send us an email at rewindtimepod@gmail.com, we would appreciate that. Lucy, should people leave us reviews on their podcast app of choice?
I mean, look, if you've been enjoying your Rewind Time journey thus far, I feel we would both really appreciate it if you leave a star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to help other people who, really need the cultural knowledge of old school YouTube to get that, up in the charts. Do leave a review if your heart desires. That would be...
Give it a like on YouTube.
Oh, look at you go.
Subscribe.
Look at you
Subscribe
go.
to the channel.
We'll make a YouTuber out of you yet.
Yeah, watch Lucy Livin. Share the video.
Gosh.
Click share, copy link 3 times.
Make a video response.
Yeah. Oh, yes. The video response. Oh.
R.I.P. But yeah, no, thank you to everyone who has subscribed thus far or been listening. We really appreciate your support and hope that we can continue to deliver on unhinged YouTube history.
Cool. Okay. Until next week. Thanks for rewinding time.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Ah, oh, that's hot. That's hot.